Um, Now I'm gonna do a little bit of a 180 here, but I gotta ask because I'm currently on this rabbit hole. What is your thoughts when you hear people say that this is a prison planet and that we're trapped here?
Yeah. Okay. That's a deep subject. And short answer, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. But there's more to it because it's not a prison for everybody.
Is prison the wrong word? Is that like everyone's using that as like a fearful way? It's like maybe it's somewhat like a contract, maybe more is a better word, or
It's a different place for different beings.
mm,
For some place, it's hardcore, right word, prison planet. Some of these beings have been grabbed, taken, and say, you, we're throwing you on Earth where you can't get the fuck out. And you can
whoa.
reincarnate and reincarnate. And their belief systems and what they've been through, what they've been doing, interacting with their dark side or the whoever they're in contention with, whether it's a Galactic Federation or some other weird shit, doesn't matter. But they can be brought here, and for that person, it is a prison, literally. Okay. Now, for some people, other people, this place is a simulation. Okay. And it's like, how do you code and decode and get out of this thing? And the trick is, it's not about, even when you drive, if you think it's a prison planet, or whether it's a simulation or it's just another experience. Uh, Once you're in the body, it's pretty challenging because of the memory wipe thing.
Hmm,
But
hmm.
once you get out, you are only dependent on your own beliefs about the afterlife. And your whole life, in this one lifetime, you have been programmed from the before you were born in the womb. You're starting to get programmed to be human and think human. And there's the biology because you're mixed with the human body with this body chemistry and reward chemicals and all that stuff. So you start building beliefs about this world, cultural, familial, and then there's social engineering and MK Ultra. There's all kinds of stuff that will program a being to not believe in themselves, and they will not have these empowering beliefs that will allow them, once they drop dead, where are they going now? It depends on what they believe. And the powers that be on this planet want you to believe limiting shit, beautiful shit, weird shit, all, heaven worlds, Valhalla, Shambhala. The Gnostics kind of figured it out. The material world is a trap. I go, well, yeah, but how? Why? What? What? What makes it a fucking trap? It's not just the body, because this place is a mental construct. It's like a dream that we're co-creating together. So it works just like any other dream in that there's a part of our consciousness that creates this place. Whew. And then we believe it's just a dream. Oh, it's an out-of-body experience. Oh, this is the material world. Oh, this is Earth. Oh, this is a prison.
It's a
It's whatever
school. Like, yeah,
it's a
this, yeah.
school. Yeah, yeah. All
Hmm.
that stuff. And it's all on us. It's our responsibility to let go look at what we believe. Is it limiting or empowering us? And let go of the limiting ones and pick up on the empowering ones, because there are dark forces on this planet that know how all this works on this plane of existence and in the astral. The trap doesn't stop here, or let's say the mechanism doesn't stop here. We won't call it a trap unless you think, oh, I'm fucking trapped. Then yeah, duh, you are. So you leave here and you go, okay, what do I got? Okay, there's that light. I heard don't go to the light. Good plan. Okay, what about these archons? You think archons? You get archons. What the fuck? Why am I even thinking archons? Why am I not thinking, where's my beautiful place? Where's that beautiful place in the higher realms that are the greater realities that billions and trillions of beings live in? And some of them have never heard of the material world or the physical universe. They never even heard of this place. I know, I've asked. I say, where are you from? I get out of body, right? I see some guys just kind of floating around. I go, hey, where you from? I think he's going to say some weird mystical place. He goes, Michigan. I go, really? Oh, what a letdown.
Mr. Michael Lee, how would you know if, let's just call it the being, how do you know it was actually who they say they were? Like, couldn't it be, I don't know, another being masking as this person and knowing like your life and being that on the other side, everything is infinite and there's knowledge, there's all these, time is not a thing. It could go forwards and backwards. It could just tell you something that you'd be like, oh shit, that's definitely them. Because I've thought about that often, right? Like if it is if we're trapped here, it makes a lot of sense to me that they would pose as people that we love and care about and offer a couple bones, and we would all be like, oh yeah. Like I took that. I'm not gonna lie. My first medium session, I was told a couple of things. I was like, damn, that was definitely my grandpa. Just curious how you rationale that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's definitely a debate that I have with Claudio a lot. Tell me to plug his website, thenonphysical.com. But I'm constantly having debates with him, especially about the reality of my experiences and whether or not I can trust that the entities that I'm talking to are actually real beings. Frankly, I don't know how you could prove anything, but what's interesting is that all the beings that are within my soul seem to act like beings, right? But they're actually just parts of who I was in a previous time. So in some ways, they are sort of like animated AI. So one could make the argument that there is a sort of that our lifetimes, and like my brother's lifetime, is stored in a file and can be animated like a language model or something and be activated. But you know, it's Tom. I haven't read fully Tom Campbell, but he actually has similar views that there's sort of this storage complex of personalities, and that when we meet people on the other side, we're not meeting them, we're meeting the file copy of the person. I would say though that our consciousnesses are real, our souls are real. Our consciousnesses all derive from a single consciousness. So in some ways, it's just God talking to itself and playing games with itself. So maybe the question is how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go as to what is real and what isn't? I do, though, have one philosophy, which is I try to treat people in my experiences as real. Because if you just assume that, oh, they're not real, big deal, then you can harm people. And as you recall from our interview before, I do a lot of retrievals. I try to treat them, with the same respect that I would treat a human being. And they seem to, at least while in an astral, have a lot of emotion. And so I assume that they're real. And I do that out of respect for the possibility that they are real.
Love it. Okay, Mr. Mike Martin, why do we forget? Why is our memory wiped at the very beginning? Every single time we're born.
Memory wipe. Well, I can't answer that question for a fact because I haven't followed up on that or I haven't witnessed it. But my understanding would be, or my belief would be, the reason why we are memory wiped every time is because, well, if you remembered something from your last life that would put you closer to getting yourself out of the system, they don't want to do that. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things have changes every time we're reborn. So the last thing you want to do is to let somebody have past understandings and bring it forward. You got to start over fresh every time because you'll remember different civilizations, different technologies, different learning processes, and that sort of thing. That's what that's based upon. I mean, that's kind of common understanding. And the whole reincarnation process is just going to start you right back over. It's just like, okay, the game ends. Once we start it over, then you're just going to come back here and come back and do the same thing or do whatever you're going to do with no better understanding than you had the last time you started. So, and if you do progress pretty well, then they want to make sure the slate's erased to bring you back again. I mean, if somebody's going to keep you in the game, the first thing they want to do is keep you, first of all, dumb. The second of all is manipulated, because if they can manipulate you and think you really need to be here, then of course you're going to buy into it and you're going to help. You know, I mean, Stockholm syndrome. And a lot of people really do, you know, no matter how bad things are and they see it and experience, they still want to believe that, you know, it's all for the good. I went through the process. The reason why I understand how other people feel is because I was there too. It's not like I was fully sold on this my whole entire life. I went through all the stages, denial and everything else. It wasn't like I just came about. Even though you have a clue of something's going on, you still want to accept that comfortable area, that comfortable understanding. Everybody does. And I understand that it's hard to break.
I guess my question to that would be, why let us talk about it? Right. And I've heard the response that, you know, we're insignificant, but if they're these all powerful, and I say all powerful because clearly they created a simulation or this planet that is quite convincing, right? And interactive and all these other, but why not patch it? Like why let us talk, especially in the age of internet where one podcast could reach millions of people potentially. Like it just seems like something that they would shut down rather quickly.
Okay, let me give you an example. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it him or me or both of us or what?
I'll have Mike Martin. You go first, and then Mike, I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay. What happens is, so if an event occurs and people experience it, followed by that event, if people start talking about it and you feel that they're going in the direction they're going to figure it out, the first thing you do is you release 1,000 different stories related to that. So what you do is you figure, okay, well, if you're going to get closer to the real answer, we will manipulate and deceive you by releasing all these eyewitness accounts, or all these people will just jump out of everywhere. And where you only had 10 people going after the truth, now you have 1 million people going after 500 truths. So it's so easy with media and word of mouth to change the whole path of where you're going. So even if you are speaking truth and you're getting there, people will start to branch off. Well, I believe this person more because I've read their books, or I believe this guy because I really like this newscaster, or this person seems to be honest, so I'm going to believe them. And that's what ends up happening. There's a moral majority of belief in just about everything, and most people gravitate to that because it's widely accepted. They don't want to be the outcast. They don't want to be someone who thinks differently because they won't fit in. People want to fit in and be accepted.
Mr. Michael Lee.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that you know, the two questions of mind wipe and, you know, so, you know, we do have a mind wipe for the most part, but it's interesting because every time that we incarnate down here, it's not actually like our whole soul incarnating. It's almost like a probe comes down here. So it's not our full self. It's kind of got like a freshness to it. Like it's sort of like a mixture of who we were from many different lives that come in here. And we kind of come in as a tabula rasa of sorts. I think that it is a problem that we don't have a good memory of the process. That is 100% something that I'm against. And I've been actually, I mean, I don't really have time here to describe it, but but it's something I've been working to fix. But I don't think while we may lose our identity, we don't necessarily lose all of our skills. In my case, I was able to lucid dream even as a small child. I had naturally good math skills. I've always been a fairly decent personality, although about 10 years ago, I started to get angry. So I think that while there is an identity wipe, I think each time we come here, we build on what we had from previous lifetimes, and our team grows in strength and numbers. And it's really interesting because when you seek out your guides, it's not, for me, it's actually not my soul guide that comes in and greets me. It's actually my other past lives. So it seems that as my team is building, we are getting more powerful. Now, does that power mean that at some point, like what Mike is saying, we will figure out a way to get the heck out of here? I think that we're kind of in this weird state where, yeah, we may be able to figure a way to get out of here, but we also may just graduate anyway. My guide, I don't even know if she comes here anymore. And what's interesting too, and this relates a little bit what Mike said, is that what I believe to be my soulmate, and this is really maybe more mythology than anything else, that I've kind of fallen behind a lot of my soul group, and they're more advanced than I am in a lot of ways because of certain things I did in certain lifetimes. But I see my soulmate living in India. I mean, this is all mythology, and she's just here because she loves helping people. And what Michael Newton talks about is this idea that when you're near graduation, you almost don't want to leave. And maybe that's a trick in itself, but you start to feel compassion for all the suffering that's going on here.
Tough questions. Mr. Mike Martin, I got one for you. If it turns out that your theory is false, and I know it's not your theory, it's decently popular, what's the most harmful effect it could have on someone who believed it?
Life more times than I've been right in the past, not about this generally, but what you have to do is, what I had to do is I took all those my documentation and all my experiences, and I sat down. This was about 6 months. I did nothing but go over everything and try to come up with a whole idea of really what I'm going to base my understandings on. And that was the toughest 6 months of my life, because when you get into a position where you're constantly questioning yourself, you're questioning every move, you're questioning every experience, you're questioning everything. You can almost at that point drive yourself crazy because it never ends. It's like once it starts to snowball, the snowball just gets so large. So I took a break, a couple weeks, and sat back down again. And I already had a good understanding of the way that I felt, but there were some things that had to change in my foundational beliefs in order for me to take a lot of these things that I believed that weren't true. I had to move them to the side so that I can put a foundational understanding from experience and put that in place of that. Because I still had a lot of old baggage from things that I wanted to believe versus what I actually have experienced. So I decided to do, I made my decision. I said, okay, I'm not going to keep questioning everything I do. I'm going to make, this is my foundation right here. I'm going to build upon it. And when I first started, I told people, don't rely on me. Rely on yourself. You can take pieces of information that you have not experienced from other people and use that within your scope, but always question everything. So don't base your understandings on my experiences or my beliefs. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer tools that I used myself in order to hopefully help you get somewhere down the path, or hopefully help you along your way. I didn't have anything. I had a couple books that I read, but a lot of times, even in books, you'll find there's just misinformation because it's made to sell. And if you don't have enough fluff in there to make it exciting or ooh and ah, then you might not sell your book. So a lot of people have integrated that into there in order to make it interesting enough to be a potential bestseller. So the whole foundational beliefs and everything is up to you. Everything is up to you. No matter what I say, no matter what anybody else says, you have to do it yourself in order to really believe anything. So use what I can for all it's worth, what I offer for all it's worth, and then use that as a springboard to find out the real truth.
When you both have met beings, correct, on the other side? And so
Yes.
Mike Martin, are you actively, like, other than questioning everything, like you meet a being and you hear them out, are they more positive? Like, are you finding that they're more happy and you're just not believing them? Or are they telling you like, yep, you are in a prison, you figured it out, good on you, but you're still stuck here? Like, what is your experience like knowing what you know, especially since the other side seems to react off of how you think, right? And they can read your thoughts. And so are you getting any kind of pushback or acknowledgement of your theory?
The dream state has been the only place, while I'm lucid dreaming, is the only place where I've gotten any negativity. Beyond that, in the different dimensions and alternate realities, no. It's even kill. So basically what it is, there's no positive and there's no negative in there. It's just right down the center. So what they'll do is, let me give you a direct example. And this was told to me several times. Hey, we realize you're utilizing portals. So we can show you how to keep them open. Now for me, I'm red flag number one. Okay. During that experience, red flag number one tells me that, okay, well, if I can open them, why can't you? And I also know that in order to hold the portals open, it requires energy from me as well. So what are you going to do? Deplete all my energy? And why would you be utilizing my gateway? There's something far beyond. So there's things that you will experience just like that. It will be just in general conversation, but you're aware of what's going on. It's called manipulation. And it happens on many levels. Somebody could be very nice to you and manipulate you into doing things that you would think, oh, that's okay. I don't know any better, or I'm not really going to think about it because it's a cool being from another place. So they all have to be really, really trusting. Well, my thoughts on that is every being everywhere, whether it's on Earth or not, has their own agenda, and there's no way of knowing what that agenda is. Never. You'll never know that. Even in people in your own family, if they make a decision or have you do something, you don't know what's behind it. And if they don't want to tell you either, you may never know. So that's what it's all based upon. You have to read between the lines. You have to dig deeper and look at your experiences. Why would somebody say that to me? Why would the conversation go that way? One of them is put you at ease. The way that they present themselves, they can change their image, and they can also change the landscape. So if I wanted to manipulate a being, I could invite him over to this Hollywood set, and I'm this billionaire in this large mansion with all these cool cars. And he's like, yeah, I just met this billionaire. This guy's a lot of money. He's got a lot of pull he can probably do anything in that world. This guy is amazing. When he goes back and tells whatever there, well, it's just a facade. And that's what most of it is. It's because they know more about you than what you know, because they can read you. There's an energy field around us, and it's all being basically
20 more seconds,
in a etherical database. They have access to it. Okay, they have access to the etherical database. They know more about you than you know. So when you get there, there's no question. But you don't know anything about them.
Mr. Michael Lee, on your end, you have a unique spot because you are doing retrievals. And I found that fascinating. First read about it. No, actually, I read about it after I met you. So you gave me some books. I've been reading them.
Yeah.
I guess the question would be, the one I thought of first was, if we're here to learn, and then you passed away in an unexpected way, like a lot of examples in Bruce Moen's books are like, I don't know, they're like in the army or something, right? And they got sniped by someone. So they didn't expect
Right.
it. They weren't aware, which is
Yeah.
why on the other side, they're like still in limbo. Like they think they're still there. They think things are still going on. If it was just to learn, don't you think it would be like pretty instant? Like, oh, wow. Like, all right, well, I must have died. Like, why have that limbo effect? And also I've thought about, like in the example, a lot of kids are often brought up, like kids who pass away and they're stuck and they're waiting for their parent, and they don't want anyone to, like, that whole don't talk to strangers things. Like there's an example in Bruce Moen's book where this little kid is like, anytime a being tries to approach him and take him to Focus 27, right, or wherever you go after, it freaks out, and everyone's like, okay, because the kid's like, no, I don't want to go anywhere without my mom or my dad. Why wouldn't the mom or dad just go get him? You know what I mean? Like, why does it take you to go do that?
Well, a lot of times I actually mentioned this to somebody recently, that in our lifetime, even if we're not spiritual people or anything, we typically do a few retrievals in our dreams, and typically it's people in your soul group, so you may or may not recognize them, or they're people that are family members. But why does this happen to begin with? It's I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting questions, like why am I needed versus helpers in spirit directly? And what I found, and I've probably mentioned this to you, is that the two or three lowest levels of the astral plane seem to be almost, but not completely, inaccessible to people that are on the mental plane. So, and the mental plane being right above the astral plane. And so it is a bit strange that the bungee cord, which I've actually experienced because I got to do retrievals starting from the mental plane going down. It's like the bungee cord just doesn't take you all the way down, or at least for people that are in spirit, their light just dims so much. It doesn't seem right. And it sounds, honestly, the image that comes in my mind is that this system is not, it's got some glitches in it. But I think the distinction that I like to make with people is that, and as far as I know, my guide and whatnot, our intention is to work with souls that want to grow and evolve. And I think the challenges, and even for somebody like me, is now that I'm aware that there are other systems that souls can evolve and grow in, why this one? Why are we using this one that has has that separation? And so I think that's a big challenge. And and it's funny because I can relate to Mike, because I've met people recently that would sort of agree that there is this neutral state that souls can be in. I would also argue that Mike probably had some training in some system. Like, he's not just some random guy off the street. I mean, he's advanced and evolved through some sort of potentially physical system, but it may not have been nearly as glitchy as this one. Then he comes here and he's like, wow, you guys got a lot of work to do. And I think, his ability to make portals tells me that, at least for himself, I don't see him being trapped here. I think there's one caveat that I want to mention for people that are interested in trying to escape or leave, is that the energy that you have on you when you die may not be your full soul. It may just be sort of like this, like I said, this probe, this offshoot. And so you kind of don't want to, if you come from another system and it's just your probe here and you take it with you, that's fine. But if you're somebody like me who's been living in this earth school now since I was a little soul, it would make no sense for me, Michael, to just go off into the wilderness, because I would be basically leaving behind my entire energy complex that I've created and my energy that's associated with it. And that gets to another point, which is, I don't think all souls experience this earth the same way. I think for some souls, they experience this earth through a headset. I think for souls like me, it's through some sort of thing where my soul rests within the soul plane of this earth realm and then sends a probe down. And for people like Mike, you know, it could be the headset, it could be just him as a single probe, but his actual soul is in a completely different universe. And so it's hard to generalize that everybody here on this earth is experiencing this place for the same reason. And there may not, and Mike may have a guide that's like, you know, get the heck out of here. Whereas I think at me as a guide, and certainly my students, the impression is, hey, this is our home. This is where we're, you know, this is where you learned, Mike. This is where we want to learn. It's fun, exciting. Let's do it. Let's grow. Let's, you know, become, you know, knowledgeable souls. And another point that Mike made, I think is really fascinating, is that I 100% agree with him that, you know, in this outside the earth realm, we're very sort of, there's not good or evil, but there's also not a lot of emotion. I feel like being here like grows us in a weird way. It expands our emotional palette, it expands our empathy perhaps, because when we see suffering, we don't want it to happen. So there is a positive thing that comes out of this experience. And I also don't think that I'm trapped here. I think and if we look at what Robert Monroe talks about, he basically started as a baby soul. He grew up mostly in this system. And then he said, you know, he's pretty much ready to graduate. Now, what's kind of funny is, well, did he actually graduate? How do we know that? We didn't see it from his books. Well, it turns out when I first started going out of body, one of the people that showed up for me was Robert Monroe. And he showed up for about a year, a few times. And he actually gave me some really cool lessons, which I don't necessarily have time here to talk about. But then he said, at one point he said, Mike, I'm leaving. And so anyways.
You know, it's interesting with both of you. I wonder how you both feel about each other as far as, like, Mike Martin, do you view people who don't see life as a prison yet as young souls? Meaning like they just haven't come to that yet. Like they're still in the like happy period. It's going to take a couple more reincarnations before they go like, wait a minute, something's off. Or vice versa. Michael Lee, do you feel like Mike Martin is like, well, that seems like that's something you do when you're a younger soul. And all I mean by that is just you haven't had enough reincarnations. Because I wonder what the benefit would be, Mike Martin, to have your belief system. I can see the benefit in believing that life is a school of some sort. I wonder, on the other hand, yours, like if it is true that it's a school, what did your guides tell you? And did you just decide, fuck the plan? I'm gonna do my own thing? Or, you know, it's an interesting, I'm curious how you view that. Oh, sorry. You were muted, Mike.
I guess it's me. Okay. What I would, the way I look at it is, I used to be all up for the school thought. I was sold on it. I figured we're here to learn. Maybe you just got to go through it. But then I started thinking, based upon what I was experiencing in the dream state, what I was experiencing outside, far outside of the astral, and then what I was experiencing in the physical. Now, how many times you or somebody you love have to die of cancer or have to suffer? Or how many times do you have to go through this process of suffering? Now, if you weigh everything in life, there's more suffering than there is enjoyment. If you can pick the happiest parts of your life, and they're going to be so far fewer than the struggling, the suffering, the surviving. Okay. I have not met anybody that's got this joyous, happy life that things don't generally just go wrong all the time. That's just how life. I grew up in a middle class working family, and anything that we got was we had to work for hard, and it was never an easy chore to get to that point. So I understand, and I also know people that are on the better end of the spectrum. But you could be the most richest person in the world, but that doesn't mean you just still don't have some level of suffering. It's just that you're higher in the richest part, the wealth part, but that doesn't make your life any easier. You still have to deal with the situation. So I'm trying to remember what the rest of your question was, but there's a couple things that I wanted to just address, just kind of doing with the astral. I think it's a very popular belief. They go, oh, the lower astral levels are the problem. That's where all the lower entities. Well, from the beginning, and I learned this from the very beginning, the lower levels are the levels of your disconnection from the body. It's a simple process. So maybe your spirit rises above the physical body within a certain distance, level 1, level 2. By the time I think you get to level 5, your spirit, and with you inside of it, is upright. And then from then the levels change a little bit, but that's the whole purpose. Whether you're flying or whatever, there's a level designated to that. So when people say, oh, all these demons are in the lower level, it's not even a level. All it is it's basically your ability to move through these. So for instance, my first experience was I was upright. So I probably started out at level 7. I bypassed it because I'm not using the separation technique where I have to go through all these different levels to get to where I was. I was completely upright in the air. So I was already at a higher level because I used lucid dreaming as a gateway to get in there. So those lower levels are nothing but a procedure. Then once you get above that, there's a little bit difference, but that's the whole thing. People are just getting sold on that. You know, I mean, there's beings all over the astral. So first of all, they're not going to hurt you because your energy without matter. Here we're energy with matter. The soul is energy with matter. That's how you can potentially die. If the soul gets injured, you can die there, but not on the astral. Mental planes, different story. Just like the physical, you can be killed. So there's a whole lot of interference when it comes down to it. Like I said, if you have the truth and somebody wants to change the narrative, the first thing they do is they put out a bunch of misinformation, get everybody to believe it because everybody's speaking it.